Alrighty, guys, I'm back with another model that I built. I should say, really, an ongoing model that I've been updating. Dorian Limited trades in the Nasdaq under ticker LPG, and I just want to go over. I'm not going to really go over the three statement. I've already built this. It's a large model, nothing too complex. I want to go over the valuation summary. Kind of how I arrived at these price targets of $51 and $53 using the income approach up here and the EBITDA multiple approach down here. Fairly simple concepts to understand. I do have a toggle here as well, so I can show you my downside, or otherwise known as my bear case, about $35 a share. I can show you my bull case, about $70-ish a share. So that's that. Here is the fleet tracker. I have all the links to each individual VLGC that Dorian owns. I also like to keep track of the departure date, the arrival date, where the ship is sailing to. There's a lot going on right now in the world, and I think it's important to understand, if VLGC could be headed into danger. The Red Sea is extremely dangerous. Here's just another brief overview about the company, just kind of their fleet in more depth, their carrying capacity of LPG, shipyard it was built, the year that each individual ship was built, some consolidated stats down here, average year that their fleet was constructed, their fleet size, their fleet age in years, so their entire fleet's about 9 years old. Don't worry about these two lines right here, not important. Let's see. General fleet notes, some general sector knowledge down there. Here's some company notes, some macro news. Here's my investment overview. So I'm sitting on about 1,400 shares for an average price of $34.71. The equity, it's been trading in the 40s. So in 77 days, I've made 9 grand. Not bad on a 50 grand investment. I'll take that. I'll take that. Here's an equity calendar, just sort of a broad overview of some upcoming dates that I find important that could shed some light on Dorian's future earnings and their future operations, future rates, just general sector knowledge again. This is all data over here. I have fleet statistics on their competitors. I have just general desktop research here. Argus Media, a great player in the PDH plant and LPG and NGL space. They just know what they're talking about. S&P Global, another good source, and I just keep up to date on the LPG sector. Some more basic market data. LPG growth year over year. I have VLGC rates from Fearnleys that are updated every week. You can see they've really trended down from Q4 of 2023. Annual LPG demand. See, I have oil and gas rig count. Obviously, the more gas rigs that are out there, the more oil rigs, the more LPG that is going to be produced, you would think, right? It's an offshoot of gas, so you would think that would be the case. So I track that. Obviously, gas rigs have been really trending down over the last decade and a half. It's quite amazing, actually. You can see the visual over here. Gas rigs have just been destroyed on the down and down. With that being said, I do want to bring up this point from S&P Global the other day that they published. Although the U.S. gas rig count has declined over the last decade, production has stayed healthy. Actually, in the first quarter of 2024, LPG and LNG outflows hit record highs. So I just want to outline that. Imagine how bullish this sector will be and some of these equities will be when gas rigs actually start to tick up over the next 10 years and supply becomes even more bountiful. I can't wait. I cannot wait for that. No amount of VLGC supply will be able to, offset the supply of gas coming out of the U.S. and supply of LPG coming out of the U.S. that will be fulfilled over in Asia due to the PDH crackers, PDH plants the African demand for LPG and really the global demand for LPG as a clean alternative to oil and even natural gas. Propane is extremely clean burning. India is also a massive consumer of LPG. I like to track this U.S. exports of propane and propylene. Obviously, just really a leading indicator of LPG demand, something that I like to monitor. I annualized everything over here, and it's just easier to graph and easier to visualize. So you can see that exports of propane grew almost 20% year over year from 2023, or from 2022 to 2023. 2024 is not finished yet. 2010 was also not a full year of data, as you can see. Here are LPG's competitors. You have BW LPG, you have Advanced Gas, Stealth Gas, Navigator Holdings, which isn't really a direct competitor since they operate handy size carriers. They don't operate VLGCs, but their rates are still important to dock. If they're doing well, the VLGCs are probably doing well. And you can see that they have some pretty good data on the VLGC fleet and also their own fleet, small gas carriers, etc. That's why it's really important to monitor any company that you invest in. It's important to monitor their competitors. Here are private competitor profiles, just Petrodec. They have a really new fleet of VLGCs, so it is pretty important to look at these guys. Sometimes they publish some data on their website that I find really interesting. You can see that their fleet is slightly smaller than Dorian by about 36,000 cubic meters. Their fleet age, on the other hand, is new, very, very new. So this company is doing extremely well. Other channel checks, Targa Resources, they operate a few ports in Houston. They are a midstream operator. They operate in the transportation and logistics of LPG to ports, and they work with a lot of exporters, such as Dorian Limited. Dorian will drive a couple ships in there and export some LPG. So it's good to look at their investor presentations. It's good to talk to these guys. It's phenomenal to get on earnings calls and just see how they're talking about LPG. You can see right here, key takeaways. LPG exports benefited from the recently completed expansion, strong market conditions, and the Houston Ship Channel's allowance of nighttime transits for larger vessels. Larger vessels meaning VLGCs, right? It's extremely important stuff. Key takeaways that all go into the thesis and they all go into building this model, and they give you validation in your idea, right? Now, if this was all negative, well, you might be making some tweaks to the model. But it's important to, I call it channel checking. It's important to expand your knowledge on the sector. And how are you going to do that just looking at the equity you invested in? They only present earnings 4 times a year. You have to look at their competitors and other verticals, right? So that's it. That's the model. I hope you guys gain some valuable insight. I will eventually start modeling companies out just from scratch so you guys can see just once my viewership goes up, because I know people want to see this stuff. So cheers, thanks, goodbye.